Good evening. Our top story this week. California CPS agents snatched the kid of a young Russian couple after they requested a second opinion regarding their child's health care, thus sparking the Russian Children's Ombudsman to get involved. Then the court gives the kids back, and prompting a California lawmaker to demand an audit of the state's child welfare system since it's been one major fuck-up after another. An author writes a book criticizing the new Christian rights adoption boom as going beyond abortion prevention and into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Former vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan is regretting voting against gay adoption in 1999, as he is now all for it. In Texas, the House passes a bill that would require guardians of foster kids to give informed consent before a foster kid could be put on psychotropic drugs. The executive director of the Law Project for Psychiatric Rights is calling the astronomical numbers of the forced drugging of American children, quote, Medicaid fraud, end quote. And in Missouri, a number of lawmakers are supporting an amendment to the state's constitution that would essentially formalize the fundamental rights of parents to raise their children as they see fit. In India, an orphan gets married at the state group home she grew up in. In Ireland, the government is refusing to recognize the adoption of more than a dozen Mexican children who were adopted by Irish parents. The Russian Children's Rights Commissioner takes back 2 kids who were removed from a Russian couple in Spain. And in South Korea, a researcher is calling overseas adoption child abuse, although everybody else is trying to pass it off as child welfare. In Canada, Manitoba's child welfare system is accepting calls from any caller who wants to report any little thing without caring the slightest about the identity or credibility of the caller or the validity of the information provided. In Ontario, they're worried that cutting family preservation services to parents will increase the number of kids snatched into foster care. And in Australia, the government fails in a bid to change forced adoption laws in Victoria. In England, a woman wins a £20,000 lawsuit after a British social workers failed to remove her from a prostitute mother who she says abused her. And Charlie Sheen's kids are removed from his ex, Brooke Mueller, and given to his other ex, Denise Richards, and he is satisfied with the new arrangement, where more than 140 people who are claiming to be victims have identified 84 people responsible. And an American mother living in the UK forces her 14-year-old adopted daughter to get pregnant and give birth after her chances of adopting a 4th child were denied. 2 teenage girls are in jail after falsely accusing a father of flashing them as revenge in a long-running family dispute. An inquiry into the British child welfare system that was conducted by various agencies finds that the system needs urgent reforms as it more often breaks rather than makes relationships for kids in foster care. British social workers lose their bid to snatch 1 kid from their parents in Devon. Cheshire Council's Child Protective Services are deemed inadequate by a watchdog group known as Ofsted, and a British social worker tries to beat an autistic boy to death as a service to his country because the kid would never be a productive citizen and would instead always be a burden. In entertainment news this week, Canadian rocker Tim Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive is found not guilty of molesting his foster daughter. Jermaine Jackson is still refusing to pay his child support, and Charlie Sheen's kids are removed from his ex, Brooke Mueller, and given to his other ex, Denise Richards, and he is satisfied with the new arrangement. In Florida this week, a woman pretends to be a CPS agent and goes to a foster home to try to snatch the kid back. In New Jersey, a U.S. Army major and his wife are charged with assaulting and abusing their adopted children by beating them, breaking their bones, failing to get them medical help, depriving them of drinking water, and allowing their biological kids to take part in the mistreatment. In Texas, a real father beats a CPS agent who is trying to snatch his kid. And in Idaho, police raid the home of a medical marijuana advocate who has multiple sclerosis and throws her kids in foster care. In Michigan, a judge rules that CPS agents can't be sued in a case where a teenage girl died in a fire while chained to her bed. In New York, the court suspends a lawyer who claimed that he was addicted to lying. In Pennsylvania, a woman falsely accuses a man of child abuse in an attempt to get him in trouble. And in Tennessee, a real mother is upset after CPS snatched her kid away, threw him into a foster home for a week, and then gets his hair cut just before being ordered by the judge to give him back. A white adoptive mother of 2 African children from Tennessee is upset about some of the ignorant things that people say to her, such as asking how much the kids costed or asking when her husband and her were planning on having their own children. In West Virginia, a real mother gets arrested for snatching her 2-year-old son back from his legal guardians. The Los Angeles County supervisors considered dropping a foster care contract with a private agency after they had repeatedly misused funds and placed children in homes where they were abused. And finally, tonight in California, a 12-year-old boy gets arrested after trying to stab a social worker who came to his home to see him and investigate his mother. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.